boy is dangerous.
Bad feeling about this.
You don't seem to understand something.
The thing that I like most about being a dad is that I see that I'm about to impact the world.
What's up? It's your boy Humble Dad back with another edition of Humble Dad Podcast. And today we're going to be reacting to the documentary that I just watched about Kirk Franklin and his upbringing. And it's a big deal for me since I talk about dads, marriages, and relationships, and kind of everything in between. And the reaction that I initially had when I woke up this morning, my wife was like, "You want to watch it?" I was like, I really want to go to sleep, but this gives me another opportunity to hang out with you before you go to work, right? And how it comes on is very captivating, and it sparked my interest immediately, especially when he said where he was from. Everybody knows that he's from Fort Worth. However, the part in Fort Worth that he's from, they don't consider Fort Worth. He's from Riverside. And Riverside is a very small town. With inside, it's like right next to White Settlement and in between Fort Worth as well. And I worked there for like 2 or 3 years. I was a teacher in that area not too long ago, and so that definitely sparked my interest. Also, I'm somewhat connected to Kirk Franklin. I've met him once when I was with Randy Army. I remember we did a performance at Oak Club Bible Fellowship, and we were just about to go up, and he's in the green room, and he comes out of the green room, and I shake his hand, "How's it going?" And that jazz, very, very polite individual, and then also I'm friends with his sister-in-law. Sister-in-law. And so I had I feel like I have a connection with him in that regard, as well as him having daddy issues. I always knew that he had, daddy issues in the sense of he didn't know who his father was. And it's a really interesting story because all of us have a daddy story, right? For me, my story is not a good one in the sense that my father was not really around. And so when I'm watching this documentary, I'm connecting to him because he has the same emotions that I'm having or that I have when the issue is concerned around fathers, which led me to even start this channel, really, because I wanted people to see that there are good fathers, even though I don't necessarily think highly of mine. And so as the journey began for him to even discover who his father was, it was a divine moment, for an individual to pass away, and then that's how he discovers. Pardon me, I didn't even groom this morning. I just wanted to get up and give my immediate response. It was like God's timing. God was saying, like, Kirk, this is the time that I need to let you know who your father is. And so he begins on his journey of telling the story about how he was able to try to figure out if this is his dad or not. And it was so random. The lady was I mean, if you haven't seen it, I'm sorry. I mean, it's out, right? The lady was like, "Oh, you look like Kirk," and the guy was like, "Oh yeah, I used to date such and such." And so the journey begins on, and he's talking to to his the DNA lady or his doctor, I would say, and comes back and reveals that 99%, right? And his reaction to the to the results were one that was heartbreaking. Really, it was heartbreaking to see him go back into a childlike state because of the hurt that he had felt, and then not only that, that he thought that he had met his father once before, and he thought he had buried his father, and this came out that it was a lie. And so I don't know if y'all know, but studies, not even studies, but if you go to the DNA testing, I think it may be website or something like that, they talk about how 40% of the paternity tests that come in, they are they're negative, meaning that they are not the father. So there are women, a good amount of women that are out here not being honest about who the father of the child is. And that's such a detriment to the child, you know. And so it's unfortunate that that Kurt had to go through this, and many individuals go through this not knowing if this guy is actually their father, you know. And it causes major trauma, you know. For me, knowing who my father is and he not being there is very hurtful and somewhat stressful at times. There was a moment in the documentary where Kurt was like I'll give up all the things that I've earned and gathered reward wise and accolades just to know who my father is, because I'm somebody's son. I just don't know whose son I am, you know. And so I know who mine is, and him not wanting to be there causes anxiety for me at times, because I studying fathers and listening to fathers and being one, I know that there's an innate feeling for you to want to be around your father. And so when I'm watching Kirk, I'm internalizing it from my perspective as well, and seeing him go through this. And then he talks to his mother, who is a work of art, to say the least. And that to know that there are women out there that would not be honest with their child about who the father is, right? You owe that to that child, because the child has is having trauma in their lives that could be avoided. If that guy is a bad guy, then let that kid find out. My mom never talked bad about my father. She let me find that out for myself, that he seemed to just kind of be self-absorbed, you know, or whatever. That's my opinion. That's what it seems like, you know. But it also made me want to at least reach back out to him, because he had reached out to me, and my response to him was, you know, you rejected me, so I'm gonna reject you. When in fact, that's not how I should have responded, but that's how I responded. Yeah, she's more like a piece of work. She is more like a piece of work. That's true. Because she did not even want to accept the reality of that Kurt had found his father. She didn't even want to accept that. And it was so long, it's 53 years ago. And she still is not wanting that to be a door that's closed for her son, Kurt. And And then for me, it made me want to make sure that again, it's always something though that makes me want to make sure that my kids know that I'm here for them, and that I'm going to pour into them and encourage them, and try to guide them in a way that leads them to Christ. You know, yeah, she was cool. And if all those on Facebook, if you could go over onto to YouTube, that'd be helpful too. Well, I guess it really doesn't matter. Really doesn't matter because I put it up for all to see. Um, it's important for it was important for me to talk to y'all about this because there are in the Black community, 80% um, of kids are raised by a single mother. Some of it's because of the single mother choices, and some of it is because of the guy. But at the same time, both need to be thinking about the child. The child deserves to know who their father is and who their mother is. Kurt was raised thinking that he was adopted, but he would see his mother once or twice a year. So she wasn't even taking care of him. And so we feel a sense of rejection when you're not there. Or if you're in the house and you're not even, and you're treating me a certain way, or you're not treating me like you love me, there's a sense of abandonment that's there. It's the same thing when Christ is absent from your life. But Christ doesn't abandon us. Like he's always right there, and it's us that rejects him. For the fathers out there that are not involved, that's how your kids internalize who God is based on how you are as a father. I know that was for sure for me. I was raised in the church, but I didn't think that God was liked or loved me like that, even though I would talk to him because that's how I was raised to talk to him. It didn't feel authentic. And then at times, even now, as I told my counselor, sometimes, it's hard for me to accept love because I've been rejected by the one that helped birth me, to bring me into this world. And so I'm saying this because you all need to know that your kids are more important than that partying, more than the lifestyle that you want to have because you chose to bring them into this world. So they're your responsibility into raising them to be individuals that can overcome things. And don't get me wrong, I have overcome several challenges in my life. And God makes no mistakes, right? God doesn't make mistakes. He does allow things, and people make mistakes. And so in my journey of being a father and having a father who has rejected me, I put it like this: being a father who has had a father reject him has pushed me in a way of wanting to be a superb dad. And I still make mistakes in that, which is what I saw Kirk do as well. He had a conversation with his son, Carrion, I want to say. And in Carrion, he was off the bat, was upset at his dad. He was like, no matter what you tell me, I'm just mad right now, because they hadn't talked or seen each other in a few years. And Carrion was feeling rejected by his dad, just like Kurt was feeling rejected by his dad. So as you can see, the cycle continued. But once Carrion saw that he was going to know who his grandfather was, his countenance changed. his mindset, his spirit, his energy changed to being open to hearing and receiving his dad's words. All because he now knew who his grandfather was. Because there was a sense of closure that was there, and now it could be built upon. And those that have good fathers in their life, I challenge you to appreciate them, because most of us out here don't have that. And that's unfortunate. And that's a result of moms and dads. If you are going to lay down with somebody and bring a person into this world, you need to be responsible enough to take care of them. You cannot say I was young, because you were grown enough to do grown people stuff. And so the hurt that Kirk felt, he also somewhat exuded to his son. However, if you go back and listen to the call between him and his son, it didn't sound like Kurt was not loving his son. It sounded like his son didn't feel loved by his dad because he was not getting what he wanted, right? Almost similar to the prodigal son in a way, not getting what he wanted. However, what I saw from Kirk Franklin's dad was what God does to us. His dad had sat down with Kirk. He gets the results and he breaks down. And he's like, I never knew. And if I would have known, you would have known also. The crazy thing is that Kirk Franklin's dad lived blocks away from Kirk Franklin's studio. Where Kirk Franklin's dad stays, his son played in a neighborhood or a house, a neighborhood adjacent to where his dad lived. It's crazy, right? And so I also look at it as God's timing, because God could have allowed this to experience at any moment in time, but he chose this particular moment for his particular glory, because Kirk is working on an album. Shout out to Kirk, comes out October 6th, 2023. And Kirk not knowing that while he's making an album, that God is going to reveal to him who his dad is. So he named it Father's Day. When was the show aired? It's on YouTube right now. If you just go type in Kirk Franklin Documentary, you'll find it. It's very short. It's like 36 minutes long, but you get a lot of information in that time frame. They did a really good job in putting it together, the production of it and things of that nature. And thank you, Kirk, for being vulnerable, to the world and letting us inside your personal world, because that's hard. It's hard to let people know your areas of weakness, especially us men. So I commend you greatly. And if you ever get a chance to see this, I really hope that I can interview you. I've been trying to get you on the show for a minute to talk to you about fatherhood, because you're a father, obviously, and you've had your challenges and your successes as well. And so this is an invitation. And so also, like I said, the documentary showed me through Kirk Franklin's biological father that he's found that, what did he say? He said, listen, I don't, he said, whatever your pace is what I'm willing to go. He said, because this is not about me. This is about you. He said, whatever not necessarily whatever you need, but just to say that's what God does to us. God doesn't necessarily force us. He doesn't force us to come to him. Excuse me. He really works at our pace. And to some degree, right? Because I know if I had accepted Christ and moved in a way that I can look back and see God was still with me. If I would have moved earlier, like when I was a youngster, if I was moving when I was like 18, I didn't give my life to Christ wholeheartedly until I was like probably 26, I think. Some people would say that's young, maybe, depending on where you're at, right? But for me, I can see if I would have done it earlier, like what I could have possibly have accomplished by now, right? I also see if I would have had my dad in my life, possibly, depending on what type of guy he is, with mom and dad in the picture, what type of personality I would have had, would I be the man that I am? I don't think so. So it's almost like a catch-22, really, right? It's like, would Kirk have been who he is if he didn't have that driving force of putting himself into his music? Would I be the father that I am? I don't know. I would say that maybe even a better father if my father was a good father to me. I mean, that's how it is. How now I try to be a good father to my kids like God is to me. I try to give grace to my kids, mercy to my kids. Gianna says she considers me to be a strict but fair type of dad. And I believe that's who God is to me. He's strict but fair. And so as you, or if you're a mother or a father or thinking about being one, or somebody that is, and they're outside, they are not allowing their kid to know who their father is, or they're not being involved in their kid's life, I challenge you to have a conversation with that person if you have a good relationship with them. It was a good documentary. I challenge, I won't challenge. I would promote that everybody go see it. It really got me to thinking that I need to be more intentional with trying to restore my relationship with my father, as hard as that is for me, because I've tried many times over the years to do so. It also has compelled me to make sure that my kids, even before this documentary, I'm trying to make sure that my kids get time with me as I pursue all my other goals. But one of my main goals should be to be a father to them, check on them regularly. I just went to go check on them, but they still sleep. It's Saturday, right? So with that being said, I appreciate those that have tuned in to listen. Make sure you go over on YouTube and like the channel, like the show, subscribe, and share it with some people as well, because the goal is to get to 1 million subscribers, and I gotta get to 1,000 first. But every one of them counts, and I believe that I believe that God has given me a story to tell that will impact people, many people to come. Whether that's encouraging men, whether that's challenging men, whether that's challenging women, whether that's impacting marriages. I see that God is able to, as I told my wife, God is able to take broken people to heal people. Kirk Franklin is broken, but through the years, the music that he's made has healed a lot of people. That's how dope God is. I say the same thing about myself. When I was broken, and there are areas of my life that I'm still broken in, and I'm encouraging others to still lean on to God and to talk to Him on a regular basis. Pursue Christ at all costs. It pays out in the end. You know? Well, that's my time. I appreciate yours. And until next time, we out here. Deuces.
The boy is dangerous.
Bad feeling about this.
You don't seem to understand something.
The thing that I like most about being a dad is that I see them about the impact of the world.